Hi guys, Joe here and welcome to 750 Gaming. In this one I'll cherry pick some units from my most recent Space Wolves project and show you how I plan to play Combat Patrol with them. So in my last video I showed off my Space Wolves army, which happens to be 1000 points of girls in power armour that's full of cool kit bashes and head swaps. I'm very happy with how this custom army turned out, but a few people took umbrage to them, and my loose grip of the law and my filling in of the grey areas with my own headcanon, but, you know, this isn't my first day on the internet, and perhaps it serves me right for making such an apparently clickbaity thumbnail. C'est la vie. However, I do also appreciate that whilst this is my hobby, it is not mine and mine alone. There are loads of people in this extended community, and just how like everyone is different, everyone hobbies in their own special way. So whereas I like to kit bash, and therefore kit bash my own custom lore and headcanon, others do not. But as long as we're all respectful about it, it's all good. Because the important thing to note really is that it is just a game set in a made up universe, and in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Anyway, back on point. 1000 points of Space Wolves. Awesome sauce. But though we're only halfway towards the notional 2k meta here, sometimes even 1000 points is too much to play with. What if I wanted to chuck my miniatures on the table in a slightly more scaled back version? What if I wanted to use my Fenris Dottir in Combat Patrol? Can I? Well, yes, I can. I did a video last year that detailed my thoughts and ideas and unofficial guidelines for fielding some custom combat patrols using the miniatures we already have in our armies. I do enjoy that you can theoretically go buy a box and have a viable army for a now viable game there and then all in one package. It's why skirmish games are easy to get into, and it's great especially for new players getting into the hobby or older players wanting to try out a new army or just start a new project. But what if you've got a few armies already? What if you've got some painted minis you're really happy with and want to play with, but you don't necessarily have the time, space or energy for half-scale 40k, let alone 2000, 3000 points? Well, like I said, it can be done, and I think this army is a really good case study of what we can do. First off, let's look at that Space Wolf Combat Patrol proper and see what it's all about. After all, if there's already some source material out there, why not use it for inspiration, or at least a pointer in the right direction? So, the official Space Wolf Combat Patrol includes a Primaris Lieutenant, 10 Intercessors, 5 Reavers, and that funny old Invicta tactical warsuit thing. With the way that 40k works in 10th edition, let's assume that the most likely deployment will be a case of splitting up or combat squadding the Intercessors into 2 groups of 5 to give you maximum tabletop flexibility. And then there's literally no reason whatsoever not to attach the LT to one of those units. It's just pointless not to. And then with the Reavers and the Warsuit, you've got 4 separate units there doing a number of different battlefield roles for victory point generation, etc. The Thorix Void Hunters detachment rule set for this lot is actually also pretty decent for what it is. The Tireless Hunter default enhancement to give your leader +1 to wound against a specific enemy unit is alright, and the secondary objectives are okay too, either points for character monster vehicle killing or points for OC. The stratagems are also usable, a fight on death, an ignore cover with +1 to hit an enemy character, and then a Reaver Battle Shock specific one which is probably going to be a bit more circumstantial, but it's there. So we don't actually need to do anything with the detachment rules here. All we need to do is think about what minis we want to use. For instance, I don't actually have 10 Intercessors in my 1000 points of Space Wolves. Instead, I'm going to choose to take my 5 Assault Intercessors, and then I'll supplement them with 5 Infernus Marines, which, as per the Strike Force Octavius detachment rules, have a Combat Patrol Ready data card, which is nice. I do have 10 Reavers come Hounds of Mordecai, however, so I will take 5 of those as per, and that bit's easy peasy for me. But if you didn't, you could swap in another unit that performs a similar battlefield role, like Scouts, or Space Wolf specific Blood Claws, that kind of thing. And I think you could probably apply the pack ambush strat to them as well instead. I could take Anya Olthurvinur, who I made as a Ragnar Blackmane proxy, and use her as the lieutenant in this army. It would be the cleanest swap maybe, but I think I might actually take my librarian instead, because she's actually just a very, very cool model that I kit bashed and I really enjoy looking at it. Now, Izzy is technically a Phobos librarian, so I could attach her to the Reavers, but I'm more likely going to whap her in with the Assault Intercessors as a librarian proper. And due to those other official Space Marine combat patrols out in the wild, there are also combat patrol appropriate data profiles for both types of librarian available, so no real work to be done. All that's really left to do is work out what takes a tactical warsuit bulk in this army. One, because I don't have one, and two, because I don't really like it either and have no intention to get one. So instead of a weird hybrid, not quite a dreadnought thing, I think I'm going to take Sigrid Ulthermodir and her wolves. 75 points base and 30 for the wolves, so that's 105 instead of the 140 of the Walker thing. What she loses in ranged weaponry, she more than makes up for in melee punch. She is a Canis Wolfborn proxy, which allows the attachment of the Fenrisian wolves, so I've got a little squad here to give her a few more wounds and therefore a bit more stayability. Of course, however, there is no combat patrol datasheet for her, so we'll just have to be sensible. On balance, I think it's okay for her to use that Born of Wolves ability buff to give her sustained melee hits, but the Alpha Predator one is probably going to be a bit overkill at this scale of the game, so we'll scrub that one out for combat patrol purposes. All in all, it's going to be around 415 points instead for my 17 minis. Oh, okay, plus those one shot and the down wolves, so 415 points for 22 minis. But I think it's decent, and more importantly, I think it's a fair comparison in my book as well. Based on some quick math, it's also cheaper financially. Granted, I converted and kit bashed the hell out of some stuff to make my Fenrisdottir, but the units I'm using here for combat patrol cost me around 66 quid to put together. The full price of the Space Wolves combat patrol box is still retailing at 80 at Games Workshop recommended retail price. So go figure. What it all really means, of course, is that for 10th edition, currently all my 1000 point armies have a selection of units I could pull and use as a combat patrol, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's pretty good, especially when you've got a load of mates coming over and you want to try a few different matchups and things as opposed to just one big game that's going to take all evening between two people. My next project up is to finish the redo of my Red Hunters come Deathwatch army up to 1000 points again. The change of editions last year meant they needed a bit of a refresh. Though, with the way I modelled them and built them up till now, I do technically have a usable combat patrol of them I could play here as well, but you know what? That's all for another video. As ever, I'd love to know what you think, so leave me a comment down below with your thoughts and ideas on how you play combat patrol with the miniatures you've already got. And hopefully, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Let's go!
Yes, thanks for watching. Do give this video a like and a comment if you enjoyed the content, or indeed otherwise, as I do love to read your thoughts and ideas. As ever, this is just a bit of fun for me. I don't have a regular release schedule or Patreon or anything, so hit subscribe if this is something you'd like to see more of, and you can catch my content when it happens. Hopefully, I'll see you next time.